Hello and welcome to another episode of Sushi and the Swordfish. You're here with Sushi once again, and we're moving into November and the films that I watched for that month in the year 2021. It is an extremely long list this month with a lot of interesting films that we're going to go through, as you can kind of see at the bottom of the video here. But let's jump right in and see what I watched and where they're going to be all placed. All right, we're going to kick everything off here with 12 Angry Men. So this is a sort of courtroom drama movie, and I really enjoyed this movie. I didn't, again, not a movie I knew much about. It is a black and white film, but it has a really great build-up. And even though the conclusion is, I wouldn't necessarily say unsatisfying, maybe somewhat inevitable, I suppose, it is more a likely way of putting it or analyzing it. I still really found that the film had a really good ability to draw you in with all of the characters and just understanding their perspectives. I'm putting in the big money, big prizes, I love it category. After that, we have Animal House. I'm going to put Animal House in the top dog. There are things about Animal House that certainly don't fit with the modern day sensibilities, I suppose, when it comes to some of the humor. But a lot of the stuff that happens in the movie is still just kind of timeless, and there's a really great amount of camaraderie between the actors. I think I couldn't really point out one particular scene in the movie that makes me laugh the most. There's just a lot of really funny little bits here and there. If I did have to pick one, it might be the scene when they meet the dean and he's reading off their grade point averages. And I can't remember, I think it's Pinto. I can't remember what his name is, but he's got a really low average, and he says whatever his name, Mr. something, and then hello. And then for Blutowski with 0.0, and that's a number that both myself and Swordfish like to reference pretty often as 0.0. Really fun movie. All right, after that we have Batman Bad Blood. I'm just going to put in the OK USA category. I was kind of in obviously, as you can see here, there's quite a few Batman films, and prior to this, there was a few as well. Just was on a big Batman kick, and absolutely nothing wrong with this one whatsoever, but I just think it didn't, it's not as memorable, I would say, as some of the others. It does focus a little bit more on Batwoman, which is interesting, though, since she's not a character that I think gets a lot of spotlight in these animated movies very often. After that, we have Batman Gotham by Gaslight. And I'd never read the graphic novel of this. I've heard of it. I know the artist is Mike Mignola, but I don't know much about it like prior to watching this animated film. But I really liked it. I thought it was a really interesting backdrop to be in London in, 1880s, I believe it was. And just to see some of the characters and the way they're portrayed and stuff. It does have quite a few Batman characters. Harvey Dent is in it, Selina Kyle, Commissioner Gordon is in it. I can't remember who else might be in it, but those are more or less the main characters. Alfred, of course, is in it as well. But it's just neat to see Batman being pulled by buggy and like a horse and carriage and so forth. So it's a really interesting take to be set there, and Batman's basically just trying to catch Jack the Ripper. So a really cool idea. Next we have Batman Hush. I'm gonna put it in the OK USA. Batman Hush seems to be somewhat divisive between people. I read the books not right after they came out, but I would say something like in the early 2010s or something like that. Seem to have misplaced my books for whatever reason, can't seem to find them. The art is amazing. Jim Lee's art just fits Batman's world really, really well. However, the overall plot of the story just seems to be one of how much can we cram into a 12-issue series, and the film doesn't feel quite as crammed together, but it's also just, it's okay. Like the story doesn't really excite me as much as I think it maybe once did. After that we have Batman Ninja. Again, another very unique and interesting take on the Batman mythos. This animation was really neat. It was very computer-esque, but still looked kind of hand-drawn. It was interesting. It was an interesting art choice, and there's some pretty neat parts where action is happening, and then there's, I don't know if you want to call them transformations or introductions to characters and things like that happens throughout the movie. Basically, Batman gets thrown into through time back into feudal Japan with the Joker. But not only they are there, a lot of Batman's rogues gallery ends up showing up, as does his allies. So, a very interesting take. I'm going to put it in... Oh, this one's tough. I think it's just an okay USA for me, but I could see it being very popular for a lot of people. And continuing on with another Batman movie, a live-action one, and that is Batman Returns. I'm going to put this in the big money, big prizes. I love it. I hadn't seen this movie in a long, long time. And I had seen the predecessor of this, not recently, but more recently than this. I think I watched the Laserdisc version, actually, if I recall, which was very neat. I don't think I've seen too many Laserdiscs, but that was pretty neat to see. However, this movie, even though a lot of people say, oh, it's very dark and kind of a brooding type movie, there's some really fun performances. Christopher Walken is in this as Max Schreck, and he's really hamming it up, but fits the world really well. And Danny DeVito plays a really good Penguin. I know a lot of people like Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. I think she's okay. I don't think it's like the most amazing part of the movie, but she certainly doesn't bring anything down either. And Michael Keaton does a good job as Batman once again. And there's just a lot of kookiness that comes to the Tim Burton world of Batman that kind of it teeters on seriousness, but a little bit fantastical as well. All right, and sticking with Tim Burton, we have Beetlejuice. And I think I'm going to put this in the big money, big prizes, I love it category as well. Another movie I hadn't seen in a long time, and I felt has held up really well, better than I had expected. And it was interesting to kind of see some of the layers to the film, in that it's quite clever in a lot of spots, and just the whole afterlife piece is very interesting and fun to explore. It would have been neat to see if there would have been a Beetlejuice 2. I can't remember. I think there was at one point talk of making one. I don't know if that's still happening or not, but there's just so many interesting characters, and the makeup and art design of this movie is just really, really interesting. It's really neat. It would be neat to see this world extended, and not just in the animated form, because actually this DVD version that I watched had I can't remember exactly how many, but it certainly had a few Beetlejuice animated episodes on it, which was kind of fun to relive. I think the one that particular that always stood out to me was the Spooky Boutique that Lydia opens, and there's this chant that all of the people are saying, and I don't know if it's supposed to be showing the sort of mindlessness of going to the shopping mall and just spending your money and getting consumables and things. I assume there was a bit of a commentary, but it might have just been, nope, it's just a kid's cartoon. So, all right, next we have Color Out of Space. This movie, as you can probably see, does star Nicolas Cage, and it is part of the H.P. Lovecraft mythos. I was reading a little bit more about it. I've never read I don't know if it's a novella or if it's actually a novel. I think it's a novella or a short story. But it's not kind of as wacky as some of the other stuff that H.P. Lovecraft has. I believe it is still kind of part of the entire universe with Cthulhu and I'm forgetting the name of like the whatever. There's so many like dark gods and stuff in that whole world. But this one doesn't get too crazy with that stuff, and you don't see tentacled creatures exiting parallel dimensions and things like that. There's just a lot of implied things in this movie, but it works really well. The movie has a very purple hue to it, as you can see, like just even from the cover there. This purple color really radiates and indicates to the viewer that something bad is happening or is going to happen. I think I'm going to put it in the OK USA. I could probably be persuaded to move it up, but I think I'm comfortable putting it in that category. Very interesting because it is horror, but it doesn't go off the deep end of really showing you a whole bunch of grotesque things or violence. There are some bits for sure, but it doesn't get to a point of like just constantly jump scares or shock scares or anything of that nature. Next we have Escape Plan 2. I'm going to put an OK USA. It wasn't bad. I didn't know what to expect of this. I thought it was going to be a lot less interesting than the first one. It does kind of follow a similar blueprint. I mean, I assumed that's kind of the whole niche of this kind of franchise, but it was fine. It was, I mean, you could probably potentially put it in stink, but it's, you know, Sylvester Stallone has a pretty decent idea of how to put together a film and make it enjoyable enough. So yeah, I'm good with it in the OK USA. After that we have Ghostbusters. I think, wow, this is a tough one. Let's go with top dog for Ghostbusters. It's the kind of movie that I think if I watched it regularly, I might not have it in the top dog category. But because I haven't seen it in a long time, and it brought back a lot of memories from when I had seen it. Oddly enough, Ghostbusters 2 I had seen first before Ghostbusters. I don't know why, but I did see Ghostbusters 2 first. So I have a bit of a softer spot for Ghostbusters 2 for some reason. But this movie has so many quotable lines, so many just the characters are fun to I don't know, watch on screen and explore with. I did stumble across, there was some kind of promo that was put together by Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, and I think it's about like 3 or 4 minutes. It's very easy to find online, but it's just them trying to sell a pitch to studios to pick up the movie. It was pretty enjoyable, and I thought, oh, that's funny to think that had to be done for this movie to get greenlit and produced and funded and everything, and it to become a pretty big success after. So interesting how films and actors and studios and how all this kind of came together. Probably doesn't go the same ways it once did, but I think I'm pretty good with top dog for Ghostbusters. And if I had to pick a favorite Ghostbuster, it's probably Egon. I like just the deadpan nature of the character and how serious he is about everything, and he believes everything. And the probably the funniest scene for him is still when they're recording the commercial, and the other two look at least somewhat casual about it, and Egon has to look down first to see where his marker is on the ground and then he steps back the same way, and he's so just dry. Everything is dry with this character, even despite all the weirdness and craziness going on around him. All right, next we have His Girl Friday. At least by title, this is very popular, I think, and probably most recently popularized due to Iron Man, and I believe it first popped up in, I want to say, Age of Ultron, Avengers Age of Ultron, I believe, is the first time it's the movie is referenced. This one, I'm gonna go with stink. Not because it's badly made or anything. The play between, like the wordplay between the two main characters, like Cary Grant, is just, I don't know. There's a lot of wit that's used between the two characters. And it is nice to see a strong female character, but it just feels like a whole bunch of nothing happens in the whole movie. And I've watched other movies where that's the case, but I didn't enjoy it. Other than that back and forth bit, and just how Cary Grant is constantly just so rude, but he's charming still, even though he is being rude. He's out to do whatever it takes to basically win her back. And it's just they're in the newspaper industry, and so they're chasing stories all the time. And yeah, it is interesting, but I don't think it's a movie I'd probably ever want to sit through again. I do love the box art though; that's really cool. Next we have Idiocracy, another movie that I don't know. I think a lot of people who seem to watch it do seem to like it. I thought it was okay, and I could probably almost be persuaded to put it in the stink category. The premise is very clever, and you always hear that line of, it takes somebody very, very intelligent to write something that's so silly or obnoxious or just flat out dumb. And I think there was a lot of clever ideas here, and just it's fun, but it does drag on. It's like the conclusion is not all that interesting or satisfying to me. But again, a lot of the build-up and the setup, especially the first half an hour to 45 minutes, is very fun and clever and interesting. And just kind of plain out, just flat out confusing as well. All right, next we have Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. For the longest time, this was kind of considered the black sheep of the franchise until the fourth film got released. I think a lot of people don't look upon this movie quite as well as Raiders or Last Crusade, but I would say most people are probably very comfortable putting it in a very solid third position, especially compared to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I found that I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a movie I used to see off and on, just on TV in bits and pieces, and I have seen the whole thing as well before that, but it was interesting to kind of not watch them all together, because that's typically how I would see them. Yeah, you would see them on TV, but only in bits. But if I seen the entire movie, it was usually I was watching all three in a short amount of time, whether it was a week apart, maybe a few weeks, or even just a few days. And that seems to highlight some of the weaker parts of Temple of Doom, but I'm going to put it in the big money, big prizes. I love it. That first opening sequence is really fun. I believe it's in Shanghai, at least set in Shanghai. But it is interesting as well for this is that Indiana Jones doesn't really globetrot very much in this movie. There's basically just two locales. It's in China and then India, and that's it. But the setting of India certainly offered something different. Again, there's a bit of a maybe politically correct sequence that I don't really find enjoyable, and that's the eating of all the to them the weird foods. I'm not really keen on that, but as a whole, there's other parts. I mean, I love the bridge sequence is really, really great at the end of the movie. All right, next we have Justice League Dark. I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I'm putting it right in the big money, big price. I love it. I'm not totally up to snuff on John Constantine. He gets a huge, huge, huge push in this movie, but it's all the other characters as well that are just great. Like Batman's kind of front and center here, but he's not really utilized in the film a ton. It really does center on John Constantine, and then along the way, people that he has as allies, such as Santana, Deadman, Etrigan. Etrigan has some really great moments in here, and then Swamp Thing as well. Really neat. I enjoyed this movie a lot. All right, next we have Throne of Atlantis. It's kind of hard to see. It's a little bit squished there, the title. I could debatably put this in the stink. I was really hopeful. Again, I'm not a huge Aquaman fan, and I don't know a ton about Aquaman, but I think I even fell asleep like 3/4 of the way, and then had to wake up and watch, like rewind it and watch back to the points that I had missed. Again, not because it's bad. I just didn't really get interested and involved in the story. It was just sort of okay. I've seen a few other things about Aquaman that seem really interesting, but this one just didn't really jive with what I was looking for, and it could have just been the timing of watching so many of these other animated ones. Maybe if I didn't watch it near the same time frame, I might have liked it a little bit more. But if you like Aquaman, you might still really enjoy this. And if you're looking for something very Justice League based. Next we have Key Largo. Key Largo is, I think, okay USA. Interesting premise. It's a kind of whodunit, a classic whodunit type movie. It's acted quite well. Being in black and white really helps add to a little bit of the mystery and trying to piece everything together. But ultimately, I didn't enjoy it as much as something such as Casablanca. But still, it was decent, and also Treasure of the Sierra Madre I enjoyed a lot more. But still, if you like those ones and you want more Humphrey Bogart, you might really enjoy this one. Next we have Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge. Yeah, this was pretty good too. I'm debating putting a little bit higher, but I think I'm satisfied with it being an okay USA. Scorpion seems to be getting a bit of a push, just in the sense of he's always been a very popular Mortal Kombat character, but I just feel like he's getting a lot more exposure when it comes to this franchise if it's being pushed outside of just the games. Seems like Scorpion is sort of a very marketable character that people either remember from the first game, 2 or 3. Well, I guess he isn't in the third one originally, but however, it just seems he's getting a lot of a push. He was in the live action one on the marquee as well. So, all right, Outlaw Josie Wales. I think okay USA for this too. Not my favorite Clint Eastwood. Certainly, again, not bad. There's nothing about it that makes it really stand out for me, though. It is interesting because it's during the U.S. Civil War, so there's kind of some twists in that. When I was watching it at first, I thought, oh, interesting, because he's kind of teaming up with one side, but then it sort of flips, and then you're like, does that mean he's on the other side? But is he an out? Like, and then he becomes an outlaw. So that's very interesting aspects of it. There's a really cool scene when he's in the back of that stagecoach, and he's got the machine gun, and they start chasing him down, and they think they've got him trapped in there, but he's already out of there, even though they've riddled it with bullets. They think they've killed him, but he's gone. And yeah, it's okay. It's maybe one that I would probably, for me, want to watch maybe in 3, 4, 5 years again and refresh my memory of it. But and my opinion might change, but it's just okay for me. Pacific Rim Uprising, another one that I think belongs here in the OK USA. I enjoyed the first Pacific Rim long ago when it first came out. I did see that one in the movie theater, and it was fun enough. The trailer was amazing, and then you think, oh, it's going to be this awesome movie, and it's okay. And this movie is okay too. I mean, it's obviously very much a CG heavy movie, so if that's something you're okay with, you probably won't mind this. There's some neat designs of both the kaiju and the mechs, but it's also very much not a thinking movie whatsoever. It's just really, let's just go watch an exciting tentpole style film. So if that's not what you're looking for, then this is one to definitely pass. But if you just want something to just throw on while you're doing something else and you're kind of either half watching or just semi watching a movie, it's definitely something to have on in the background. It's nice and flashy and big, explosions and that sort of thing. Next we have Safe House. I think OK USA. This was an interesting movie for sure, and Ryan Reynolds and Denzel Washington do make an interesting pair on screen. and I think they actually were better than I expected. Denzel definitely certainly has a very strong ability to be a dramatic actor. Ryan Reynolds is obviously usually more associated with films that are of the comedic type, but I think it still worked out not too bad, and the ending was good. All right, next we have Skyscraper. I did, yeah, stink. I even debatably no. I didn't really think this was all that great. Um, Typically speaking, Dwayne Johnson can put together a movie and make a decent action film and have some fun with it, but I was just like, I didn't really buy into the whole thing, and it was just sort of long-winded, and just climbing a building just didn't work for me. It was kind of a Die Hard-esque sort of movie, but it was a bit more of a disaster film. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. Superman Man of Tomorrow. I'm going to go an OK USA. I'm not the hugest Superman fan, but Lobo's in this, which was kind of fun. And Superman deals with Parasite in this movie. Um, and I won't ruin it, but there is another character, a very important character in here as well. Animation was good, and it was decent enough. If you like Superman, this is a little bit more light in its content, so it's not so heavy, and just a kind of good superhero romp. All right, next, Man from Uncle. I'm going to put this in big money, big prizes. I love it. I think this movie got really, really trashed by reviewers, but I found it was just a stylish, interesting spy movie, and not perfect by any means. There was some parts where it was kind of just either really clumsy or silly, but I think that's kind of part of the charm for it. And the leads are really good in it, as was the female lead. Like, so I thought it was good. Like, just kind of a fun movie to watch. The Mask. Again, this is going to go in big money, big prizes. I love it. This is a movie that both myself and Swordfish still quote at times. We we just kind of, I don't know. I think this is one that him and I had seen at some point together, and for whatever reason we latched onto a few of the gags in there. One of the ones that we still say is that the doctor is about to operate when they're going to rob the bank before the mask comes bursting out of there. And yeah, it's a good comedy slash superhero movie, even though the mask technically isn't really a superhero so much as just at least a comic. The Hitman's Bodyguard, I don't know. I think I had to go stink. Again, two actors that I do enjoy watching, but I don't know. This was not for me. I didn't really find the comedy that funny, nor the action. It was just a passable movie that if I don't ever watch it again, I probably wouldn't even know I watched it. If I did come across it on TV, it'd like, oh, right, that movie. That's just kind of where it falls for me. Not much I can really say. It's not really one that I plan on coming back to. Top Secret, I'll put it in OK USA. It's font's a little smaller, but it is made by the same people who did Airplane. I think the premise, again, really fun. You can really make a goofy comedy about it, and there are some really good gags here and there. But as a whole, I don't think it's quite as memorable or as enjoyable as Airplane. Even though there are some funny bits, I think the bits that are funny in Airplane are far more memorable and classic than this movie. I think even if you said to people, like, have you seen Top Secret, they probably won't even remember what it is. But if you say Airplane, I think you probably get more people that remember Airplane. Maybe not the best comparison, but unfortunately it kind of does get compared. Turner and Hooch, we're gonna go in OK USA. Meh, it's okay. I don't know what compelled me to watch it. I think it's just because I remembered it, and it's all right. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't love it either. Wonder Woman 84. Wow, this is a tough one. I really like the style of the movie. Like, it has a lot of style, and it's not ruining anything, but they do bring back the Steve Trevor character, played by Chris Pine. He's in the trailer, so it's not. There's some shenanigans that kind of come up to as to why and how he's back in the film. But it feels long. Like it doesn't have this nice, simple, straightforward flow that the first one had. This one just kind of feels long. Gal Gadot, I'm probably still mispronouncing this actress's name, but she's still great as Wonder Woman. She really embodies the character and looks confident as the character, and she just has a great portrayal of the Diana Prince character, but a little bit weaker on the villains in this one. All right, and Yesterday. I think I'm going to put in Big Money, Big Prizes. I love it, actually. I could see people not liking this movie, but I don't know what it was. It's just something about it was charming enough that I actually found I enjoyed it quite a bit and all the way through. And even though it's very cheesy, which I don't tend to enjoy, I found myself enjoying this movie. And I don't know if it's just the lead actors just got enough sort of just humility in sort of the way he was being portrayed in the character, and getting caught up in this massive lie, but it's kind of not a lie. it was kind of fun to follow that, and him kind of coming to terms with, he knows it's something that's, I wouldn't say unethical, but he's doing something that is making him question his morality to some degree. Like, just is he doing something that's good for people, or is he doing something only that's good for him? And that's kind of the point of the movie that I thought was interesting. All right, well, thank you for joining me for this look at November's movies. There's quite a bit here, so I'm just trying to kind of speed along to wrap it up. Thank you again. I hope to see you down that road for December. Take care.